Move on to the 5 takeaways, see what 5 things we did learn from the 4-3 loss against Chelsea. And number 1 is big chances missed.
And interesting, considering you look at the game state yesterday and the amount of possession or control Chelsea did have yesterday. Spurs actually created 6 big chances yesterday compared to Chelsea's 3. So we actually probably, on the ball, the stats say we had the better chances in terms of like the big chances. Obviously, Chelsea had a lot more shots, and they had obviously 2 of those big chances for Chelsea were penalties, and you're always very likely to score those penalties. I think, yeah, we probably created more chances than people give us credit for yesterday, albeit, the control Chelsea had always meant that they were always likely to get back in the game, and obviously they ended up winning it.
Yeah, and look, we created a number of good opportunities yesterday, and we weren't clinical enough, even though we did score 3 goals yesterday. We weren't clinical enough with the chances because we let too many stupid decisions that cost us the game down the other end. But as much as we did create a number of good chances, I just felt like Chelsea did deserve the win yesterday because of the amount of control that they had in the game as well.
That's fair enough. The next one
is costly penalties.
Yeah, which is interesting because obviously penalties yesterday, first of all, on just the bare face of it, it did cost us the game because we would have won 3-2 if it wasn't for those penalties, just on that surface level analysis. But obviously we know that it's not as simple as that. But if you look at the expected goals with and without penalties, Spurs actually created a 2.91 XG without penalties yesterday. Obviously we didn't have a penalty, and Chelsea's open play XG was only 0.88, and their XG without penalties was 1.46. So I think that definitely goes to show to me that the penalties, as much as Chelsea had control, it was very much costly, those penalties, and that did make a big difference. As much as Chelsea had other chances and stuff like that, the stats say that the penalties ultimately were the big difference in the game.
Yeah, I mean, that is true on the bare face of things, but I did feel like sitting there in the stands, it was coming, regardless of penalties or not. Maybe it wouldn't have come if the penalties didn't come, we'll never know. But
the stats say the level of chances that Chelsea created without the penalties wasn't as high as what Spurs were creating.
Correct, but I mean, sitting in the stands though, you could feel it coming though, couldn't you?
But is that not Spurs? Is that just fan anxiety, or is that what we were seeing? I don't know. Maybe it was both.
I think it was both, probably, but the way that Chelsea were dominating us, I think it was just a bit of a ticking time bomb.
Yeah, it potentially, and obviously the third goal wasn't a penalty, and the first goal wasn't a penalty. But you could look at it. You could look at it that way as well. I think the way Chelsea had control of us, and the way they had us had their hands around our necks and just suffocating us, it was difficult to watch. But in terms of real clear-cut opportunities, as much as they created a lot of openings, Forster, the saves Forster had to make, they had that one double save and the one from Sancho. Apart from that, didn't have to make too many other saves, and they didn't have too many bare misses as well. But they created a lot more. They had a lot of openings, but maybe clear-cut opportunities were not as frequent as you'd have thought, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll move on to number 3, and that is Bergvall cameo.
Yeah, and I thought 10 minutes to go, obviously we had 7 minutes injury time added on top of that. And for the second game in a row, I think he had a really nice cameo. I think he really impacted the game positively, had a lot of composure. And I think it was nice to see him on the pitch in a big game like that and actually impact the game quite well. Obviously, look, we were 3-2 down. We did concede a fourth, and it's not like he was world class or anything, but as an 18-year-old in those circumstances, I think he just did really well, and he completed 2 of his 2 long passes, 1 out of 1 dribbles, 100% passing accuracy, and just helped add a bit of composure to Spurs. And actually, I know you could probably argue Chelsea dropped off at this point, but we did have a few openings in that last 5 minutes plus stoppage time, and I think a lot of it was just down to how Bergvall helped calm things down a bit and actually just helped us get the ball forward. Yeah,
and I think he looked like confident and calm on the ball, which no one else was doing in that moment in time. He put in one really good cross as well, which could have resulted in a goal, and then his spreads of play, which was really good as well. So I think on the ball he looked good. I want to see more of him. Hopefully he carries on that momentum into the game on Thursday night, because we're going to need him. Number 4 is Son's big moment.
Yeah, and this is what everyone's going to remember his game for. In terms of his game by numbers, I'll just go through it because, he actually didn't have a terrible game. 2 key passes. He had 4 shots in total, 2 on target, completed 1 out of 1 dribble. And obviously, he did score a goal late on as well, so he actually did get on the score sheet. But obviously, with the game at 2-2, and Tottenham probably having one of their best moments of that second half. He has that chance one-on-one with Sanchez to bury it and pass back in the lead with 20 minutes to go, and that could have maybe changed a lot of the momentum in the half. It didn't happen, and unfortunately, Spurs went on to lose the game. We conceded a few minutes later. You could see after that chance missed, and after Chelsea took the lead, he was desperate to try and make up for that miss, and he did get a goal, and he had a one-on-one as well where he missed, which he maybe could have gone down and got a penalty, and also he was inches away from that cross from Werner right at the death, but wasn't enough. But yeah, Son's big moment was definitely a big moment in the game, but I think in general wasn't. I don't think it was a terrible performance. I think everyone was saying he was dreadful, ghost and stuff like that. I think maybe that miss is glossed over what wasn't a terrible performance from him.
Yeah, I do agree to a certain extent, but you got to finish that chance. You either got to finish it or you got to square it to Werner, and it was a pivotal moment in the game because they go up the other end and score a few minutes later, and we lose the game. But yeah, look, I think from a general performance level, I think he gave his all for the team. He provided bits of quality. He created 2 chances as well. So it's just a shame that, because you just know that Son on any other day probably puts that in the back of the net. It's just frustrating. It's literally the Sonny zone, isn't it? Literally in the Sonny zone. So very, very frustrating. But 5th and final takeaway is bottom half.
Yeah, and I think it's probably the first time this season we're going to end the game week in the bottom half. Which is obviously nowhere near good enough after 15 games. We've lost more than we've won this season in terms of games, and I think now over a year, I think we've lost 19 and won 18 over a calendar year. So we are in trouble in that sense. We are still only 5 points off 5th, so the table is still extremely tight. A couple of wins and things can look very different, but we are in a rut, no doubt about it. 1 win in 7 in all competitions, albeit that win being against Man City. We are 1 point away from 13th as well, so as much as 1 win can change things, 1 loss can also get us down in the table as well. Not good to see. You don't want to see us in the bottom half at any point, and yeah, it's not great.
Yeah.
Albeit, I think we're still second highest top goal scorers. Now Chelsea are top with 35, we're on 31. Goals against, I think we're still not terrible. Chelsea only 1 less than us. I think the other teams to concede less than us are Arsenal and Liverpool, I can see, and Man United. So on those facts, we shouldn't really be 11th, but it's a results-based business, and that's where we are. Lost 7 and won 6.
Yeah, but then you look at teams who have lost more than us this season. There's only 3 teams in the league, and that's the 3 teams in the relegation points in Ipswich, Wolves and Southampton. And if that's the level of results that you're going to get, then we're probably in the position where we deserve to be.
We need to turn that around.
Yeah, which is very disheartening to be 11th in the league at this moment in the season. 15 games gone, nearly at halfway house, and we're sitting in the bottom half of the table. It's nowhere near good enough. The results in the last 12 months have been shocking. And if Ange's going to save his job, he needs to turn it around very, very quickly, in my opinion. But that is the 5 takeaways from the 4-3 loss.